What if I told you that your biggest fear, that thing keeping you awake at night, could lose its power over you in the next 15 minutes? I'm not talking about positive thinking. I'm not talking about pretending your fears don't exist. I'm talking about 6 ancient Buddhist truths that have liberated minds for thousands of years. Truths so powerful they can transform your relationship with fear forever. Today, we're going deep into wisdom that most people will never discover. While everyone else runs from their fears or gets paralyzed by them, you're about to learn something different. I've seen these lessons transform the lives of thousands of students. People just like you who were once controlled by anxiety, doubt, and fear, now living with a freedom they never thought possible. Our journey begins with the most fundamental truth, understanding the real nature of fear itself. Stay with me. What you're about to learn in the next few minutes could be the turning point you've been searching for. Fear is like a storm cloud passing through the sky of your mind. It may look solid and unchanging when you're caught in it, but if you watch carefully, you'll notice it's always shifting, always changing. This is what the wise ones discovered thousands of years ago. Nothing stays the same forever, especially our emotions. Think about a time when you were absolutely terrified about something. Maybe a job interview, a difficult conversation, or a big life change. Remember how intense that fear felt, how it seemed like it would never end. But here you are now, reading these words. That fear passed, just as all fears eventually do. When you feel afraid, try this simple practice. Pause and notice the fear as a visitor, not a permanent resident in your mind. Say to yourself, "This is just fear passing through me." It will change, just as everything changes. This simple acknowledgement can create just enough space between you and the emotion to see its changing nature. Many people make their fears worse by fighting against them. They think, "I shouldn't feel this way," or "I need this feeling to stop right now." This resistance actually strengthens the fear, like trying to hold back water with your hands. It just spills over with more force. When you accept that fear is temporary by nature, you can let it flow through you without adding the extra suffering of resistance. A helpful practice is to set aside 5 minutes each day to observe how your thoughts and feelings naturally rise and fall. Sit quietly and just watch your mind, like you're sitting by a river watching leaves float by. Notice how no thought or feeling stays forever. Each one appears, lingers for a moment, and then dissolves away. This is the natural rhythm of your mind, and fear follows this same pattern. In daily life, you can apply this understanding when fears appear. Maybe you're worried about an upcoming presentation. Instead of getting caught in stories about how terribly it might go, remind yourself, this worry is temporary. It's here now, but it won't stay forever. This isn't positive thinking or ignoring the fear. It's seeing reality more clearly. The beauty of understanding impermanence is that it works even for the biggest fears. People who face serious illness or major life challenges often discover this truth on a deeper level. They find that even in the darkest moments, the intensity shifts and changes. There are moments of peace, even brief ones, that remind them that no state is permanent. Remember that cloud in the sky? Next time you feel afraid, look up at the clouds and watch how they form, change shape, and eventually disappear. Your fears work the same way. They may seem solid and real, but they are just temporary formations passing through the vast sky of your awareness. Knowing this doesn't mean you'll never feel afraid again, but it means you won't be fooled into thinking your fears are permanent facts about your life. This understanding of impermanence gives you a powerful edge when facing fears. Instead of being completely overwhelmed, you can hold on to the knowledge that this too shall pass. This isn't just a comforting phrase. It's a deep truth about how your mind and emotions actually work. Notice how often fear takes you away from now. It pulls you into imagined futures or painful pasts, places that don't actually exist. When your mind is spinning stories about what might go wrong tomorrow, you're not here anymore. You're lost in a movie playing in your head. This is why our second lesson is so powerful. When you bring your attention fully into the present moment, fear loses its main fuel. Fear needs you to time travel in your mind. It needs you to leave the safety of now. Try something with me. Right now, as you're watching this, take a deep breath. Feel the air coming in through your nose. Feel your chest rising. Feel the air going out. Just for these few seconds, be right here with these sensations. Notice how in this exact moment, you're actually okay. That's the magic of present moment awareness. In the actual now, not the imagined future or remembered past, things are usually much simpler than our fears suggest. Most of our suffering happens in our thoughts about reality, not in reality itself. When fear starts to grow, it's almost always because we're focused on what might happen later. What if I fail? What if they reject me? What if things get worse? These thoughts create tension in the body and mind, making the present moment uncomfortable too. Here's a simple practice you can use anywhere. When fear arises, gently bring your attention to your breathing. Not to change it, just to notice it. This is your anchor to now. Each breath happens only in the present. You can't breathe in the future or the past. When you stay with your breath, you stay in reality. Some people find it helpful to count their breaths when fear is strong. Just silently count 1 on the inhale, 2 on the exhale, up to 10, and then start over. This gives your busy mind something simple to focus on instead of spinning fear stories. Your body is always in the present, even when your mind isn't. That's why physical sensations make such good anchors. When fear takes over, try putting your hand on your heart. Feel its beating. Feel the warmth of your hand. These simple actions bring you back to the actual moment you're living in. Many people think mindfulness means emptying your mind or feeling peaceful all the time. It doesn't. It simply means noticing what's happening right now without getting lost in it or fighting against it. When fear comes, you can notice, fear is here, instead of immediately being swept away in its story. The best part about present moment awareness is that you can practice it during ordinary activities. While eating, really taste your food. While walking, feel your feet touching the ground. While talking with someone, really listen instead of planning what to say next. These small moments of presence build your ability to stay grounded when bigger fears arise. Remember, this isn't about ignoring problems that need solving. It's about responding to life from a place of clarity instead of panic. When you're fully present, you can see situations more accurately and make wiser choices about what actually needs your attention. Have you ever noticed how you talk to yourself when you're afraid? I am so anxious. I am terrified. I am a worrier. This small word, am, creates a powerful illusion. It makes it seem like you and the fear are the same thing. But what if they're not? Our third lesson reveals a liberating truth. You are not your fears. Fear is something that passes through your awareness, like clouds pass through the sky. The sky isn't the clouds, and you aren't your fears. Think about it this way. When you say, I'm afraid, it sounds like fear is your identity, who you are. But when you say, I notice fear arising, suddenly there's space. There's you, the noticer, and there's the fear, the thing being noticed. This simple shift in language reflects a profound shift in understanding. It's like watching a movie. When you're completely absorbed in a scary film, your heart races and your palms sweat. You feel afraid because you've temporarily forgotten you're just watching a movie. But when you remember, oh right, this is just a film, the fear changes. You still see the scary scenes, but you're not completely identified with them anymore. Your fears work the same way. When you believe, I am afraid, with your whole being, the fear consumes you. But when you can step back and notice fear is happening right now, you create a little space, and in that space lives your freedom. This doesn't mean pushing fear away or pretending it's not happening. It means seeing it clearly for what it is, a temporary visitor, not your permanent identity. Even the strongest fear is just an experience moving through the field of your awareness. It's not who you are. The helpful practice is to notice the language you use in your mind when fear arises. Try changing "I am afraid" to "I notice fear is present," or "I am a failure" to "I notice thoughts about failure are appearing." This small shift in language can create a significant shift in your relationship with difficult emotions. When you practice this enough, you start to notice something interesting. There's a part of you that remains unchanged, even when strong emotions come and go. This witnessing awareness is like the sky that holds all weather without being damaged by storms. You can access this spacious awareness anytime, even in the midst of fear. Some people find it helpful to ask, who is aware of this fear? This question points to the part of you that can observe fear without being consumed by it. You don't need a philosophical answer. Just asking the question creates a natural shift in perspective. This understanding doesn't mean you'll never feel fear again. It means you'll stop confusing yourself with your fears. You'll recognize that fears are like weather patterns in your mind, sometimes present, sometimes not, but never the whole sky. Strange as it might sound, one of the most powerful antidotes to fear is actually kindness, especially kindness toward yourself. Most of us have a habit of being our own worst critics when fear shows up. Why am I so weak? I shouldn't be afraid of this. What's wrong with me? This harsh inner voice doesn't help us overcome fear. It actually makes it stronger. Our fourth lesson reveals a surprising truth. The path through fear isn't fighting harder against it. It's learning to meet your fears with gentle understanding. Think about how you'd respond to a frightened child. Would you criticize them for being afraid, or would you offer comfort and support? When we're afraid, we need the same gentle care. Try placing your hand on your heart when fear arises and saying to yourself, "This is a difficult moment." It's natural to feel afraid sometimes. This simple gesture activates your body's caregiving system, which naturally calms the fear response. When you treat yourself with kindness during moments of fear, you create the safety needed to face difficult feelings. Many people believe being tough on themselves helps them overcome fears, but research shows the opposite is true. Self-criticism actually increases anxiety and makes us more likely to avoid what scares us. Self-compassion, on the other hand, gives us the emotional security to face our fears more directly. Remember a time when you supported a friend through something scary. You probably didn't tell them to just get over it. You listened. You understood. You reminded them of their strength. This is exactly the approach that works best with your own fears. Be the kind friend to yourself that you would be to others. A powerful practice is to imagine your fear as a frightened part of yourself, perhaps even as your younger self. How would you speak to this vulnerable part? What reassurance might it need? Sometimes just acknowledging, "I see you're really scared right now," can begin to transform the experience of fear. Extending compassion to others who are afraid can also help diminish your own fears. When you recognize that everyone experiences fear, even people who seem completely confident, it normalizes your experience. You're not weak or broken for feeling afraid. You're human, just like everyone else. Try this simple practice. Each day, wish someone well who might be experiencing fear. Maybe a friend facing a challenge, a stranger who seems stressed, or even someone you find difficult. Just silently think, "May you find peace in the midst of your fears." This small act of kindness creates a sense of connection that naturally reduces your own fear. The wise ones discovered long ago that our hearts and minds are trainable. Each time you choose compassion instead of criticism in the face of fear, You're strengthening a mental pathway. Over time, this becomes your natural response. The voice that once said, "What's wrong with me?" gradually transforms into, "This is hard. How can I support myself through this?" This compassionate approach doesn't make you weaker. It actually gives you more courage. When you know you'll be kind to yourself regardless of the outcome, taking risks becomes easier. You can step toward what scares you knowing that whatever happens, you won't abandon yourself. When it comes to facing our fears, most of us swing between two unhelpful extremes. One day, we might completely avoid what scares us, canceling the presentation, backing out of the conversation, or putting off the decision. The next day, we might force ourselves to just do it, pushing through the fear with gritted teeth, ignoring our feelings entirely. Neither approach really works in the long run. This is where our fifth lesson offers a wiser path, the middle way. It's not about avoiding fear or forcing your way through it. It's about finding balance, a skillful approach that neither ignores fear nor gets overwhelmed by it. Think about learning to swim. Jumping straight into the deep end when you're terrified of water isn't helpful. You'll likely panic, but avoiding water forever isn't the answer either. The middle way is to start in the shallow end, where you can stand. You feel the water, get comfortable, and gradually move deeper as your confidence grows. This balanced approach respects both your goal and your current capacity. Your fears work the same way. Let's say you're afraid of public speaking. The avoiding extreme would be to never speak up in any group setting. The forcing extreme would be to immediately sign up for a TED Talk and push yourself regardless of your terror. The middle way might look like speaking up in a small, supportive group first, then gradually working up to larger audiences as your comfort increases. This balanced approach is actually more effective than either extreme. When you completely avoid what you fear, the fear usually grows stronger. But when you force yourself into terrifying situations without preparation, you often create traumatic experiences that make the fear worse. The middle way honors your experience while creating gradual growth. A helpful practice is to rate your fears on a scale from 1 to 10, with 10 being the most intense fear imaginable. Then choose challenges that fall in the 3 to 6 range, uncomfortable enough to help you grow, but not so overwhelming that you shut down. As these moderate challenges become easier, what once seemed like a 7 might now feel like a 5, and you can gradually expand your comfort zone. Finding the middle way also means balancing acceptance and action. There's a time to simply be with your fears, acknowledging them with kind awareness. And there's a time to take wise action despite feeling afraid. The middle way isn't about having a perfect formula. It's about developing the wisdom to know what's needed in each moment. Many of us get stuck in analysis paralysis when facing fears. We think, I need to completely overcome this fear before I can take action. But those who've mastered the middle way know that growth happens when we take small, manageable steps while the fear is still present. You don't wait until the fear is gone. You learn to move forward with it as a companion. The wisest teachers have always understood that extremes rarely lead to lasting change. Forcing yourself to face your fears through sheer willpower often leads to burnout. Completely avoiding your fears leads to a shrinking life. The middle way, respecting your fears while gradually expanding your capacity, creates sustainable transformation. In daily life, you can practice the middle way by asking, what would be the most balanced approach here? When a fear arises, neither push it away nor let it take over. Take a moment to breathe, acknowledge the fear, and then choose one small step that moves you in a positive direction without overwhelming your system. We've arrived at our final and most transformative lesson. While all the previous teachings help us work with fear more skillfully, this last lesson has the power to fundamentally change our relationship with fear forever. It's about developing the kind of wisdom that doesn't just manage fear, but can actually free us from its grip. This wisdom begins with a simple but profound question. What am I actually afraid of? Not the surface-level answer, but the deeper truth. When you look closely at your fears, really investigate them, you often discover something surprising. Most fears, at their core, are based on misunderstandings about reality. Try this experiment. Think of something you're afraid of right now. Maybe it's failing at work, losing someone's approval, or facing a difficult situation. Now ask yourself, what story am I telling myself about this situation? What am I believing must happen for me to be okay? When you examine these beliefs closely, you'll often find they don't actually hold up to scrutiny. For example, many people fear public speaking because they believe, if I make a mistake, everyone will judge me, and that would be unbearable. But is that really true? Do you harshly judge others when they make small mistakes while speaking? Do you even remember their mistakes a week later? And even if some judgment did occur, would it truly be unbearable or just uncomfortable? This kind of honest investigation doesn't deny that fear exists. It simply helps you see the shaky foundation that many fears are built upon. When you recognize that the stories fueling your fears aren't as solid as they seem, the fears themselves begin to loosen their grip. A powerful practice is to take a few minutes each day to sit quietly and investigate one of your fears. Ask questions like, is this thought absolutely true? Can I absolutely know this will happen? What happens when I believe this thought? Who would I be without this thought? This kind of gentle questioning doesn't fight against fear. It simply shines the light of awareness on its roots. The wisest teachers throughout history discovered that our minds create suffering when we mistake our thoughts for reality. Thoughts like, I'll fail, or I can't handle this, seem absolutely real when we're caught in them. But they're just thoughts, mental events passing through awareness, not facts about the world. This doesn't mean positive thinking or pretending everything will be fine. True wisdom isn't about replacing negative thoughts with positive ones. It's about seeing all thoughts for what they are. Just thoughts, not the whole truth. When you develop this kind of clear seeing, fears still arise, but they no longer control you. In daily life, this wisdom looks like catching yourself in the middle of a fear spiral and remembering, my mind is doing that thing again where it predicts the worst. It's the ability to notice when you're getting caught in old stories and gently bring yourself back to what's actually happening right now, not what your mind says might happen. This wisdom isn't something you achieve once and then have forever. It's more like a muscle that grows stronger with practice. Each time you pause and question a fearful thought instead of automatically believing it, you're strengthening this muscle. Over time, wisdom becomes your natural response to fear. The most beautiful thing about this path is that it leads to a freedom that doesn't depend on external conditions. You don't need to control the world to be free from fear. You simply need to see clearly. When wisdom grows, fear naturally subsides, not because you've forced it away, but because you've seen through the illusions that sustain it. You've just discovered 6 powerful truths that most people will never learn in their lifetime. Wisdom that has been tested and proven through thousands of years. Each of these lessons, from understanding impermanence to cultivating deep wisdom, can transform your relationship with fear forever. But here's the thing, knowing these lessons isn't enough. Real transformation happens when you practice them in your daily life. Start with just one lesson that resonated most strongly with you. Apply it this week when fear arises. Notice what changes. If these teachings have touched something in you, if you felt a spark of recognition or a glimpse of possibility, don't let this moment pass. Subscribe to this channel right now for more ancient wisdom made practical for modern life. Every week, we dive deep into teachings that can free your mind and open your heart. And if you know someone struggling with fear, a friend, family member, or colleague, share this video with them. It might be exactly what they need to hear right now. Sometimes the greatest gift we can give each other is the wisdom that leads to freedom. Hit that subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and join our growing community of people committed to living with less fear and more wisdom. Together, we're rediscovering truths that transform lives. Thank you for being here. Until next time, may you meet each fear with the clarity and compassion that leads to true freedom. The avoiding extreme would be to never speak up in any group setting. The forcing extreme would be to immediately sign up for a TED Talk and push yourself regardless of your terror. The middle way might look like speaking up in a small supportive group first, then gradually working up to larger audiences as your comfort increases. This balanced approach is actually more effective than either extreme. When you completely avoid what you fear, the fear usually grows stronger. But when you force yourself into terrifying situations without preparation, you often create traumatic experiences that make the fear worse. The middle way honors your experience while creating gradual growth. A helpful practice is to rate your fears on a scale from 1 to 10, with 10 being the most intense fear imaginable. Then choose challenges that fall in the 3 to 6 range, uncomfortable enough to help you grow, but not so overwhelming that you shut down. As these moderate challenges become easier, what once seemed like a 7 might now feel like a 5. And you can gradually expand your comfort zone. Finding the middle way also means balancing acceptance and action. There's a time to simply be with your fears, acknowledging them with kind awareness. And there's a time to take wise action despite feeling afraid. The middle way isn't about having a perfect formula. It's about developing the wisdom to know what's needed in each moment. Many of us get stuck in analysis paralysis when facing fears. We think, I need to completely overcome this fear before I can take action. But those who've mastered the middle way know that growth happens when we take small, manageable steps while the fear is still present. You don't wait until the fear is gone. You learn to move forward with it as a companion. The wisest teachers have always understood that extremes rarely lead to lasting change. Forcing yourself to face your fears through sheer willpower often leads to burnout. Completely avoiding your fears leads to a shrinking life. The middle way, respecting your fears while gradually expanding your capacity, creates sustainable transformation. In daily life, you can practice the middle way by asking, what would be the most balanced approach here? When a fear arises, neither push it away nor let it take over. Take a moment to breathe, acknowledge the fear, and then choose one small step that moves you in a positive direction without overwhelming your system.